Thank you very much to Kamisa and Mental Records for putting this together. Today we are here to talk about holistic traditional black health. And we have some of the best of the best players here today. We're going to talk about the modalities and what they do. It's important that we talk about this because many of the times we are, and I think they do this, but we are tricked or we are summoned to be in allopathic medicine, modern medicine. So that we have to go to the doctor, we have to we need to check up, which I agree with. But as an addition or even as a supplement, we need to be doing things that we traditionally done for years. And we're understanding that the modern medicine that we have today isn't actually made for us. We don't have our traditions, we don't have our customs, and most of all, it's really not made for our DNA. So these modalities help you in many ways. We're going to talk about that today. So I'm going to go down the line and have each person introduce themselves, and then also just tell us what we do and why we do it as well. All right, we'll start with Anya.
Hello everyone, I'm Nicole. I'm a holistic doula. I work with I also hold sister circles monthly at the moment with a friend of mine that I've for the last 4.5 years. And we do food cycle.
All right, you are next, Ms. Kim.
Thank you. My name is Kim. I speak with my favorite yoga instructor. I came with practice when I was familiar with him. I love to teach. I love to teach at reading. I love to teach teens and anyone that's reading. Really good reading. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tiffany Joseph. I actually live in Mass and work all over Western Mass. I have a lot of thoughts that interview the ones, so I'm very secure with energy healing, oil healing, so healing, chakra cleansing, Reiki, and grace. I do what I do because I'm looking at myself and I feel myself in different elements. And I wanted to share that with the community, work with the children, and also do work with as well.
Thank you. So I want to talk about your journey to what you're doing now, right? What was the catalyst for why you started in the first place? And just go and tell people what like started or jolted you to get into what you're doing
Like Tiffany said, she did this because she was very and it's when she was thinking offer the same thing for women healing. Because when I was in a dark space and I was doing things on my own, it just was not working. I needed to get out, and I ended up going on a retreat in Atlanta with 20 black women. We were all in one house, 3-bedroom house, and most of us slept in the living room, and it was also a summer time for women trying to heal. And during that weekend, we had, it was actually called a detox. So I thought I was just going to clean my gut out, but it was more than that. It was sister circles, it was African traditional dancing, we did a sweat lodge, there was a little bit of journal work, things like that. And at the end, there's an African tradition called a circle. And within that circle, things just came out to do a talking. A lot of them were clear. One of them was for me. I was dealing with my sister who committed suicide, so I was just trying to figure that out. Also with like breaking up with my friend's father, and just trying to deal with that. And I didn't want to. My thing was I didn't want to raise my son feeling sad. You know, I didn't want to be the best I could to activities that the best way that people do. And that was to heal myself, and that's why I love it. And then from then, it just explored into other things and just learning about different ways to heal. Um, and on top of that, I came back to Springfield, like, we need a sister circle here in Springfield. That is it. By the end of the summer, I met this lady named Lavelle, and we started with sister circle. And we didn't know anybody to show up, but I think the first time it was like between 17 women, just about, and it's just been about 10 women off and on. We probably had over, I think 75 maybe, just circling it out on the circles. But it's healing for us, and it's healing for them as well. To have a safe space to just cry, yell, shout, kind of like laugh, and also you learn from your sisters. You know what I mean? Somebody might have gone through something like you did, that you're working on, and they have stuff for you to yeah, to assist, yeah. So that's why I started doing sister circle, and then from that came one of the color retreats, and just having a whole day filled with healing modalities for women to be able to just kind of try something different, stepping out of their box, and seeing what has been happening with our ancestors, what are the tools they use, you know, and it's delivering that back. And these lovely ladies have been a part of my retreats as well, so they have been, and so they're going to be a part of our
I'm sorry, we're online, people online can't hear you guys.
Oh.
You're talking really soft, and the microphone's like about half the way.
I
So
know
if you
it's
speak to the mic, you just kind of project so they can hear you as well, that'd be great.
Okay, good. I don't just have a video.
No.
But just really doing that, and then I also expanded to doula, being a doula. I've been a doula for the last few years. I went to a holistic doula training, and I was very specific about what training I wanted to do, because I wanted something that was more traditional. And I went to Texas. It was another retreat, and it was about 15 minutes women, and we were learning about doing work and the traditions and things like that our ancestors used to do. So, I went back and started doing it's going on 3 years, and it's actually going to be one from your life. So now it's coming to get to move forward. But it's so important for me to be able to provide for the services to our community, because that's what we said we're going to do. I can go on and on.
Thank you. Okay. So January, when I got started, I actually went this years ago. Remember when the YMCA was downtown off of Liberty Street, Liberty Chester Street? They actually offered a yoga class there. And I was thinking about it for this way. When I get to the class, and they had to be the same couple that kept taking the course over and over again. So when I got to the door, they were like closing the door on me, like, you coming in here? I'm like, yeah. So I go in, and it's, when you say divided gym, you have to fly right across the divided gym. And they had a yoga class on this little portion gym. So they're trying to relax in the posture, and you can hear the basketball bouncing, you know, so I thought that was a little crazy. So I asked her, "Chuck, and I had it in yoga, it's huge, and I was just there." And she was just kind of nonchalant. She's kind of like, yeah. And she really wanted me to just come back to her class, and she didn't give me the information. So I started Googling and looking around the studio, all over the studio. I found a place in the Sunday, so I started going to there. Of course, I was always the only person that was happy. I think I started yoga maybe 10, 12 years ago as a personal practice. I thought about becoming a teacher, but I kind of just let it go. I started doing information about yoga and the Black community, and I came across a wonderful Maria who's out of Rhode Island, who started a women color community. She has a retreat at the Color, which is in her teacher. It's about an hour and 2-minute drive from here. So I would get the catalog every year. I would have 10 people, oh yeah, we go. And then sometimes she goes, oh, I'm not gonna do that. Black people don't do that, I don't know, and then I wouldn't know because I didn't have anybody with me. So then I just started going to classes, even though I was only gonna look like me. I really enjoyed it, and how to relax and relieve stress. And then I met another lady who came to this area. She is the type of person, if she's never been to a particular part of the country, she's got to go and check it out. She worked at the Katrina down in Louisiana, she got in a class. And then she said she never been to the northeast part of the United States, so she was here. And she happened at college, she was but she was teaching yoga classes, there was a black woman teaching yoga. And I'm like, you're a yoga teacher? And I'm like, yeah. And it's like, wow, I always thought about becoming a teacher, but I just thought, I never really seen a black person in this area doing it. So she's like, you should be training. So I thought about it, and then I followed up the training. So I did $300 training in the summer, which is also part of the business. I did yoga studio in the summer. I also did, I started with $200, and I went to $300. Then I went to Kapala because I like that different type of yoga. So I did $300 training at Kapala. And then I also did a couple in the Boston area, Leslie and Jeff Salmon. She studied as an advocate in the New York, and he's a working musician in the Boston area. And together they combined and created Afro-Flow yoga, which is a big that's African American yoga. I'm taking their training. So it's just a series of different people that I met, and I also had training at one of the Black Yoga Association's conferences, which is also at the college. And it's just amazing just to walk in that place and meet some of the other Black yoga teachers from all over the world. And we have people from California, people from Kenya, Kentucky, Texas, all over the world, and doing all types of different yoga. And I just got, I kind of went on the rabbit hole. I just got intrigued by it, so I'm really ready to bring it to my community. And I want to learn more about it, and my opinion too, just see the correlation between conference between the African American culture today, from yoga from Africa to yoga that was brought over to the States. So there's a different feel from a lot of people have tried places like California. So it's kind of rare to meet people that do it in the African American. So
Right, well, I had always been a dancer since I was at 3 years old. My mother kind of encouraged me not to go into that field because I was going to make money. And so I did other things in college. And you know how did I get really bad accident? Someone ran a red light and speeded me, and I crushed all over my left side. And so it was a long rehab journey, and I had a really amazing physical therapist. His name was Tango. He was from Ghana, and I absolutely loved him. And he had noticed that my body had a certain shape, and he asked me if I was a good mixer again. So I said I used to be. And he goes, well, you can get back into it. And I said, well, I don't think I can because I haven't tried yoga. And I said, isn't that the way to it? That's all I did. And he said, you need to know your history. You need to look up Comedic yoga. And that's kind of how I started into the whole yoga world. And I went to every class I could take. I was a BIPOC person there. But I found so much healing. I was able to walk again without crutches or a cane or a walker. I was able to drive again. Eventually, I was able to dance again. And that lit a fire under me as I was able to dance again. And I decided to take every dance class I could while I had the ability. And then I ended up getting like a Zumba instructing license because I was like, well, if I'm going to be dancing every day, I might as well do something to play with my community. So I did a lot of Zumba classes for my church and my local organizations. And then one day I had this diagnosis of breast cancer. And they basically, at the time when they told me that I had breast cancer, they said it was small, it was not like, I could take some medication, everything would be fine. But then as time went on, it started to, the tumor started growing bigger and more rapid, and they were like, in 6 months, we're gonna probably have to do a second. And when I heard that, I was like, I don't even know how to take that. There was nobody in my family who had cancer, and I had to take a hard look at my lifestyle. Even though I was dancing, I was drinking a lot, smoking a lot of cigarettes, I was eating very poorly. And I had a really, really crazy job. I was working as a business and working like 70 hours a week and going happy hour every single day. It was just a really bad habit that I was doing. And I had spoken to a cousin of mine who's a motivational speaker. And he told me, he goes, people die every day just like going to jobs. Do you not do that? I was like, whoa. And then I spoke to my doctor and he said, hey, you need to choose between you and the job. Because right now you need to. And I took a step back and I thought about it and I took it. And he said, I'm going to do something with my life. And in that particular time, I quit my job. I picked out every person I was living with. It was like my home, so I was like, bye, because they were also part of the bad energy. I stopped smoking, I stopped drinking like cold turkey, done. And I completely went vegan. And so for about 6 months, I just went ham. And I did every type of energy healing I could find. Reiki, acupuncture, chiropractic care, everything that I could do, shiatsu massage, crystal healing. I did it all because I didn't want to deal with cancer. I didn't want to have to take chemo treatments. I didn't want to have to get a mastectomy. And the only thing somebody kept speaking to me was like, you have to change your lifestyle. And it was hard. Don't get me wrong. It was very, very hard, but I was determined to beat cancer. And I never told any of my family until after, because I didn't want to hear their reaction. So when I went to my appointment 6 months from that point, when I quit my job, to get a checkup and to basically kind of set up the schedule for mastectomy, my doctor had called in like 3 other doctors after taking like a breast exam. And they said that the biggest tumors that I had in my breast were gone. They didn't know what happened. They couldn't even tell me. And they said, let's hold off on the mastectomy. What are you doing? And I was like, I'm not working. I was living off of my 401k. I was like, I'm just doing all the healing I can do. I'm turning vegan. I stopped drinking. And they were like, keep doing what you're doing. And after a year, all the tumors were gone completely. And so at that point, I realized like, this is my life now. I want to survive. And so I got my yoga certification because that was part of that journey. I got my Reiki certification, and all of this kind of just, hey, I have this scholarship for yoga. Do you want to do a yoga certification? I'm like, sure. And it had every certification that I got at that point in time was on scholarship for a grant. And it was like the universe telling me, this is where you need to be. You need to tell your story and you need to heal your people, your community. And so about 2 years, that's what I was doing. And then one day I saw an old client of mine from the bank who needed somebody to work at her dance studio and manage it. And she asked me to do it. And I had been doing this work ever since for the last 7-8 years. So it all came, like, the reason why all of this started was because of the huge amount of fear surrounding cancer. And I heard something that says, just because you have a diagnosis, you don't have to accept the prognosis, right? Because they told me in 6 months I was going to get a, mastectomy. And so, yeah, that's
kind of how I've been doing it. And now, like, I'm not vegan anymore, but I don't eat like a lot of meat. I do a lot of fish and chicken and things like that. But my life changed, and it's been a blessing ever since. And every year I celebrate that day when my doctor said all the tumors were gone. And it just reminds me of how powerful healing work is, energy healing, and just like physical wellness, nutrition, and just like the environmental energy around you. Like I had really toxic partners, I had toxic friends, and I just one day just said, I'm done. And now I've created a community that's, healing, and people who are supportive and loving and kind, and who are also interested in taking care of themselves, mind, body, and spirit. And so I've dedicated my life to doing that, to helping people heal mind, body, and spirit. Thank you.
I didn't. I knew you for like how long? 5, 6 years. I know that at all. But that's amazing, amazing stories. And I think one of the reoccurring themes is healing, right? And the way you guys did it was outside of the paradigm that we live in right now, which is go to a doctor, go to a specialist in something. But you guys mentioned something about holistic healing, and I think all your modalities touch on that. And I think a lot of people don't know what that means. I don't know if one of you guys want to touch on that, but understanding what each of your modalities do and what it actually deals when it comes to holistic healing, meaning mind, body, and spirit. So I just want to throw that question out there. How do you see holistic healing, and how do you see your modality kind of addressing that?
When I think about holistic, I think about natural healing, natural organic healing. And it's not, when people talk about healing, you can heal a leg, but do you heal the emotional effects from that leg, right? It's all encompassing. So when I hear holistic healing, it's this all-encompassing mind, body, and spirit natural process of the body just taking care of itself, because the body is super powerful, and whatever you feed it, whether negative or positive, can affect the rest of your life. And so to me, holistic is just what it is. It's everything. It's healing everything. It's taking care of everything, because there's a domino effect. When one thing goes wrong, everything else kind of starts to fall through. So it's taking care of all of the levels of wellness for me, which is like physical, emotional, spiritual, sexual healing, right? Like there's all these levels of wellness. And when people say, are you well? It's like, are you talking about my physical health, or are you talking about my emotional health? Because there's two different answers. So for me, and when you're talking about healing, it's not just a one-day thing. It's an everyday thing. It's an every year thing. It's like the rest of your life. It's taking the opportunity to make sure that you are good, mind, body, and spirit, in whatever ways that looks like for you, right? But it's all encompassing, and it's just healthy and natural. I haven't taken a medication in 7 years. I have not taken a pill. I don't need to, because I know there are certain things that I can take, or certain things that I can eat that can heal certain things in my body. I don't know if that answers it.
It answers very well.
Thank you. So I agree, everything that Tiffany said. It is mind, body, spirit. And even yoga, it covers everything. It includes breath work and meditation and the actual postures. I know a lot of times when you think of yoga, you think it has to be a physical thing, and it doesn't have to be physical all the time. There's so many different types of yoga that you can do. You can do something that would be more athletic, the heated yoga. You get a nice sweat, cleans out your pores or whatever. Walking in the park can be a form of yoga or a form of meditation. You can rest, especially being a person of color. We're not taught to rest. We feel guilty for resting, myself included. I carried a lot of vacation time over this year, which makes no sense. I had to take a lot of time before the end of this month.
or I was going to lose it because I'm working from home, and it's like, oh, I can do it because, I don't have to commute. I could do it. I'm still working full time, by the way. I do yoga on the side. Hopefully that change in the next couple of years or so. But you feel guilty to rest. You feel guilty to take a day off. If I take a day off, I feel like I got to be doing something. I got to bring the car in. I got to go to the hairdresser. I got to go to the dentist. And then you're more tired than if you were at work. So it's okay to rest. It's okay to take a day off and just do nothing, which is what I learned to do because it's like I just didn't feel like doing it, and it's okay. And certain, the diet helps a lot, but you always can change your mind. If you need to eat some meat, then eat some meat. I did raw foods for a long time, and I was cute, if I might say so myself. But, sometimes it's not. We live in Massachusetts. We get cold. I learned a lot from YouTube University, but I was talking to people who lived in California who had farmers markets year round that you can get fresh produce all the time. We cold here, we get to root vegetable season. You can't, it's kind of hard to crunch on sweet potato raw, whatever. I'm sure you can do it, but it's not the same as fruit. You know what I mean? So your dietary needs, depending on where you live and what your body needs, So just learning how to rest and being okay with resting. We always feel that we have to be busy. One of the best parts of yoga is the savasana, which is the resting. And I find that's the hardest part for people to do because your mind just goes crazy. Like you're thinking about what you got to do when you leave, and just give yourself that grace to rest. And just even learn how to regulate your breath. The breath is everything. You can cool something down with your breath. You can heat yourself up with the breath. So just learning how to breathe and being in the moment and noticing that. And that's all a part of yoga. You don't have to be bent up like a pretzel, which I know some people think. We'll unfold you later, but you can just do something relaxing. If you need to use a block, use a block. If you need to sit in a chair, use a chair. If you need to be against the wall, be against the wall. If your kids come in there, they might run off, but they'll eventually do a little bit with you and they'll start doing it. Just natural things. And I know, just going back to the breath real quick, if you have teenagers, I know when they do that breath, you want to just shake them till their arms fall off, but it's a relaxing breath it's called the letting go breath. When you do that, it's like, do it again. You just want to shake them up, but it's a natural response. It helps you relax. We all do it. If you just take that little pause, it saved a lot of people from a lot of conflicts when you just have to take that breath like, let me go on in here and do that. It just gives you that just moment to relax. Just take that pause. So I'm sure that didn't cover the question, but yeah. That's
No, it definitely did. It definitely did. I think people have to understand what and demystify yoga, especially we're talking about traditional health, right? What we've done traditionally for a very long thousands of years. And we think that yoga is an Ayurvedic or Indian thing, right? But we've been doing yoga in Kemet for a very long time. But now modern Christianity has also mystified and think like, oh man, you're doing voodoo when you do this, or if you do this. And we have to understand that there is a purpose for everything that's done. And there's a reason for everything that's done. And when you do it correctly, it's for your healing. So Laconia was doing something that was very holistic, feeding her baby, right? One of the things I want to make mention to before I have her answer that question, we're actually dealing with a crisis right now that Laconia being a doula can talk more about maybe later, but there's no formula in our country, right? And modern medicine pushes you to not actually breastfeed. So the first thing they do, they try to give sage formula when we were in the hospital, but she was doing something that was natural and holistic, right? And something that the body does by nature. And doesn't mean everybody can do it, and there's struggles for different people, 100%. But I just wanted to touch on that because it was funny. She went to go breastfeed her child without using any formula, and not saying using formula is bad because some people it's necessary. But I want to pose a question to you as well, what holistic means to you, and then how your modality kind of takes on that word holistic. I'll switch.
So, with this holistic, very similar to Ken and Tiffany. But it means like really healing the body, mind, spirit, um, and emotions of the person. So kind of something like Tiffany said, if somebody's in a car accident, or let's talk about birth. If somebody has traumatic birth, there's a disconnect there. So there needs to be healing in order for her to be complete, emotionally. So that is a part of holistic healing, your emotions and that detachment. Because a lot of people are walking around detached and not connected to their feelings and emotions and things like that. So that goes into being holistic. Help me out with what else I do. 'Cause I do a lot. And everything just really ties into mind, body, spirit, and your emotions, and really just dealing with that as a whole. Asking how are you doing, meaning how are you feeling today? Today, not yesterday, not how you think you're gonna feel tomorrow, but being in the moment. Because a lot of the times we're either living in the past or we're living in the future. So when I'm dealing with clients and things like that, I kind of what we do is a grounding. We just, like Kim said, we're gonna breathe. Let's breathe right now. Let's put our feet on the floor and breathe. Or if we're sitting on the floor, let's put our bum touching the floor. Just so you know that you're in that present moment. Your bum is here touching the floor. Close your eyes and take a deep breath in and let it out. Whether it's a sigh, an awe, a scream, just to be in that present moment. Because a lot of the times we really are focused on, oh my gosh, I got to do this, I got to do that. I didn't finish this, I didn't finish that. What's going to happen tomorrow? What happened yesterday? And just really opening your eyes up and just looking around. What do you see? I see the floor, I see the ceilings, I see beautiful pictures, I see this. And that allows your brain to connect to you, saying you're in the present moment, and let's start from here. So we do that. I do a lot of that. And then just going back to the sister circles and the retreats, it's all based on let's breathe, let's ground, let's come into the present moment. And then let's talk about whatever is going on in your head right now in this moment, so we can deal with that. Did I answer that?
Yes, very well.
And that goes to birth too, because moms sometimes do have traumatic situations that happen that come up in the birth. So what we like to do is just really bring mom back in. Okay, we're here. You're in a safe space. You've got your husband or your partner with you. You've got support. You know what's going on. We've practiced this before, and just bringing them into that present moment as well, which helps holistically.
And remember, this is traditional health, right? And so our traditions, it's funny that you guys never mentioned one once. You went to a doctor and they referred these modalities to you, right? These are something that a lot of us don't notice. And I'm not like a big person on the ancestors, right? But you guys had a connection, right? You had a connection and something told you to go there, right? But no doctor ever referred you. Nobody ever gave you a subscription or anything for these modalities. And especially you saw remission without any prescription, anything at all. You saw remission. And then the fact that we're not using psychiatrists and board certified psychiatrists or anybody in the mental health field, which is needed 100%, but you use these holistic modalities to help you also mentally as well. And I think it's our traditions that we need to carry on, because holistic health is in our traditions, right? As Black and Latino people, but people that are, I don't want to say people of color because I don't like using that, but for us Black people, it's in our traditions to go holistically, you know what I mean? In every single way. We don't just take a medicine, right? We don't just take one medicine and then go to rest. We use the ancestors. You see people dancing and to heal. This is all part of our tradition. So I want to go into specifically what each of you guys do. I think Kim touched on it a little, but I know that a lot of people, every time I say Reiki, they're like, what is that? I've experienced Reiki, and it was crazy. No, for real, I'm not even lying to you. It was crazy, and they used crystals. They didn't use it. There was no machines, nothing. I didn't get hooked up to something, no IV. And I will say that it was out of body experience. That's for the first time I felt like I was in two different places. and it freaked me out. So I started making jokes. I started making jokes. I was like, get me out of here. I already saw Get Out. You ain't getting me. So I started making jokes to get out of that. I've experienced the powerful, and I honestly, doulas are traditional health. Doulas are midwives in our history. I know people are scared. Don't say it like that. They gotta have this and that, whatever. I'm not worried about that. I'm talking from our history. When you go to a hospital and you're giving birth, you have 3 different people helping you out with 3 different things because they're specified. But back in the day, traditionally, a midwife was able to soothe you as well, like talk to you and knew like your history, knew your life, and she was in your community. So before I go on the tangent, right, I'm gonna start off with you, Tiff. Kind of tell people what Reiki is.
So Reiki is a type of healing technique. It's a type of energy healing technique. It's an Eastern alternative medicine tool where the practitioner channels this type of energy where they can pull energy out of you, like pull the negative energy out of your body. It's a technique that, people can get trained in different levels of Reiki, but Reiki really is a way to soothe a client's pain, stress, anxiety, depression, any type of ailment you can use Reiki with, and you can literally help people kind of rebalance their energy, help their energy flow in a way that's not stagnant. Because sometimes, I don't know if you notice, like you use your arm and all of a sudden it's hard to like move your elbow, like that stagnant energy. And imagine that just living in your body constantly, right? So what Reiki does is it helps the person's energy flow better in their bodies so they can move better, so they can heal better. Because like I said, the body is magical and it can do its own thing without having any need for any medicine or anything like that. I mean, unless it's severe, I'm not saying you can't, but it's a way to help someone channel the positive energy in their bodies and to release their energy in their body. So with Reiki, you can actually touch somebody or not, you don't have to touch somebody. So the practitioner learns how to intuitively listen to somebody's body and find the blockages in that body, find the negative energy in that body. And they use certain techniques to remove that energy, to help remove that energy, and to help the energy flow a little better. I would say it's an out-of-body experience. When I first got Reiki, I was really in shock that somebody could touch my energy the way this person did. And to be able to like walk away feeling like, wow, I'm a little lighter. And I kind of want to do this again to see if it happens again. And I kept doing it and seeing just different things happening, i.e. the tumors going down, right? Like she worked a lot on my heart chakra. And that's another thing. You can specifically work on chakras with Reiki. And my breast is right near my heart. And I had a lot of trauma that I was holding on. And I think people don't realize that when you're holding on to negative energy, you can manifest things in your body. So this Reiki practitioner was really trying to help me to let go. They're only a conduit of energy. They're not doing anything magical. They're just a conduit of energy. And you're basically kind of as the client using that energy to like let go, and they can take it away and throw it away. Because sometimes we don't know how to do that ourselves. So having somebody else do that for you is really, really awesome. One thing I will say with Reiki energy or any type of energy healing, it's really important that the practitioner be good in themselves, right? Like, I'm not saying they have to be 100% good, but when somebody's working with your energy, you want to feel safe. You want to feel like, okay, my energy is in their hands and they could really tarnish it, or they could really, send love to it. And I've gotten energy healing where the practitioner literally said, I wasn't in my right mind today, but I hope you got what you needed. And literally getting sick for 2 weeks. And I really attribute that to somebody holding energy that wasn't ready to hold my energy, that wasn't creating a safe space for my energy. So it's really important that when you do energy work, that you feel comfortable with the practitioner, and asking them, like, how do you hold space for this negative energy? Where do you put that negative energy? And some people use crystals, some people smudge with different herbs and things like that to kind of remove that energy out and the blockages out. But that's the most important thing, and to make sure that people feel safe. And I don't necessarily touch most of the time, specifically because of my own traumas. I don't touch people like that unless you want me to touch you. But I just hover over your energy, like your aura field, like that little bubble that you have around you. That's what I touch, because I feel like touching somebody's body is just a little bit too, too much. I want to create a boundary. But there are some people who are like, I really need you to just touch my forehead, right? I need you to just hold my hand. I can do those things, right? So I think I got off on a tangent, but so basically Reiki is energy healing. It's an energy tool. It's not for everybody, but I do think that everybody should try it, even if it's at least once, to just see what this practitioner is doing, right? Like, I want to feel like somebody removing negative energy. I have a friend who does cord cutting. I don't know if anybody has heard that. It's kind of like that, but not cutting cords, literally just taking the negative energy out of your system, if that makes sense.
I kind of like to add
questions about that. Yeah.
If anybody has any questions, I'll add after. Anybody have questions on that? No. Okay, so my first Reiki session was with Tiffany, and I didn't know what to think of when I went into that. How many years ago was that? Yeah, just about. And I was just like, I'm going to do it. And I came out just light. I didn't even know that I was heavy. Sometimes you don't even know that you're walking around, you're heavy, because that's just your norm. But it's not normal, if that makes sense. And I walked out of there just light as a feather. It was just crazy. And I got it done again by somebody else, because I'm like, maybe it was just her and her atmosphere where we set up. But I got it done again by another lady, and the same thing. And so I was like, okay, this does work. And I was thinking about getting trained in it, and I ended up getting trained in it when I was pregnant with Sage. And and it was just, and the lady taught me how to do it on moms that are pregnant as well. And it was just like amazing how this works. And for me, I like to tell my Reiki clients, like, think of it as you getting hurt as a little kid. And your mom, what's the first thing your mom or your dad does? Like, if you have a scraped arm, they go and kiss it or they rub it, and then instantly the kid feels better. That's that energy transforming. So mom's giving positive energy to baby, and now the child feels better. I like to give it into that simplest term, just so people can really get an idea of energy is everywhere. Energy can be transferred as well, too. But
So I did a Comedic Reiki training. I haven't done anything on anybody because it was right before the shutdown. It's pretty much the same, but we did use a lot of instruments, which I thought were great, with the tuning forks. And there was a lady from Brazil, Black woman from Brazil. She had like a rattle. And you could just go over the body and you could hear the tone changes over the body. And they kind of swept it out. You kind of was learning to sweep it out a window or whatever. You don't want to sweep it on anybody. So you want to make sure you sweep it, usually from the head down to the feet, and you just sweep the energy away. But it's just like healing hands, like LaConya said, a kiss, your grandmother's hands, a kiss. You know how you feel good when someone gives you a nice hug? Mm-hmm. That's healing. And just even learning how to touch ourselves, just being able to heal, and, just rubbing your fingers together, you feel that heat rising. Even if you start to bring your hands together, sometimes you can feel the tingling on the tips of your finger. Mm-hmm. So that's just, if you're in the right space, the right mind, body, and spirit, you can transfer that to somebody. And it's just healing. It's just healing in a different way, but it is an incredible thing to experience. So if you have a chance to check it out, try it all, and see how you feel.
I just want to also say that, like, before all of this, like, pharmaceutical things that we've been dealing with, before even there was really like doctors, right? People going to school for it. Like, people were doing energy healing work for a really long time. I had just was reading about how Egyptians use certain temples that you can feel the energy flowing based on like the way they built them, and how people would literally go in these temples and feel like this energy was, negative energy in particular, was getting pulled out of them and like swept up in this like temple out into like the hole on the top of the temple, and like how that energy healing was, thousands of years ago. And so when I hear energy healing, most of the time, especially BIPOC energy healing, I'm like, that's ancestral, and that has just been passed down for thousands of years. And a lot of us just kind of get so used to what we have now as the medical industry, right? But to be able to like go back and learn about energy healing from what our ancestors did, like there's just something about it that just knowing that is just healing. Like knowing that certain herbs were used for certain things, right? Knowing that like certain vegetables were used to heal certain things. Like it's just different for me, and it just speaks loudly. Like I can't. It really sickens me how the pharmaceutical industry is running in this country in particular, and I steer really clear away from it because it's been very toxic for me. But the energy healing is, I always come back to it because it's super deep and it's super traditional. Yeah.
I kind of wanted to add too, these are not like quick fixes where if you're doing pharmaceuticals and things like that, you take a Tylenol, your headache is gone in a half an hour or an hour. These things are things you have to do, practice all the time, like you guys were saying, every day, or at least I would say 3 to 6 weeks, then you'll really start seeing a difference, and seeing it be gone. Like you can do a Reiki session and feel good, and then the next day or the next day feel worse. So it's like you have to keep going to, like, I guess every 6 weeks or so, something like that. But you have to keep practicing these things. It's not just a one pill fix all and then you're done type of thing. So it's a real practice.
I wanted you to talk a little bit about what a doula does. Because I know I think you think people don't know at all, and their importance, by the way. I can't sit down here.
It's his bedtime. So, yes, so a doula is a non-medical professional. So we help mothers. So we deal with mothers from prenatal. We help them prenatal care, and then we're there with them from birth and delivery, where we're there doing comfort measures, supporting them emotionally, mentally, physically, and then we help with breastfeeding if mom chooses to breastfeed in that 1 hour, which is like the golden hour after mom is born. And then we help with postpartum care when mom is home. So most of the time, postpartum care is really focused on mom because baby's fine. Baby's got mom's milk or formula, whichever mom chooses, but nobody focuses on mom. And she just birthed this human being, and she needs to be supported physically, mentally, emotionally. Sometimes it's a lot on women. So we're there for the mom specifically. So is she getting enough sleep? Is she getting nutrition? Is she getting, if she being heard, those kind of things. So that's where we come into play. We're there with her from the beginning all the way to the end as well.
And there's a lot of history on doulas and midwifery and them being synonymous in our traditions as Black people in America, which Laconia knows a lot about. But I want you to just give it kind of, because they were lost, right? It was actually illegal at one point, right? For people to be midwives? or
Home
lack
birth midwives.
home birth? Yeah.
So it still is in certain states in America, especially down south, because most of the midwives, they call them granny midwives, but traditional African midwives were down south. And then once the whole medical obstetrician or OB kind of thing came into play, the doctors and things like that, they started to ban home birth midwives. And that still today is happening in a lot of the southern states as well, where you can't be a home birth midwife at all, or it's illegal. In Massachusetts, it's in the middle. So it's not legal and it's not illegal to be a home birth midwife. So there's like that little gray area. And yes, we've been doing this from Africa. I was reading a book, and the book was talking about how when Africans came to the South, how they had like this secret code, and the secret code was like if you were a midwife, they didn't call them midwives back then, but if you were a midwife then, that you were going to be in a certain group and you were training other women to do the same thing so that it wasn't lost. And a lot of the programs down south, they still carry that. I took a program called Granny's Hand, and all it was traditional Southern midwifery and doula work, and what they used to heal moms through herbs, through dance, through different soups and things like that mom should eat, what should go into it. Even it was like a lot of roots and greens, collard greens and things like that we normally eat, but it was just traditional foods. What do mom eat? Traditional herbs, what can help mom? They talked about even, when women, when our ancestors were raped and they had to carry the baby, different herbs to terminate that baby because it was from the master or whatever you want to call it, but just what herbs are used, and they know how to stop that birth, things like that.
I just also
So
want
there's a
to
lot,
say
yeah.
that, like, with anything traditional, they always try to shut it down because they can't make money off of it. So with doula stuff, right? Like when the doctor, doctors, medical field started really advancing. I mean, they were using black bodies, right? Let's just also say that they were using black bodies to experiment on to get where we are now in the medical field. But also they were banning herbs, they were banning actual doulas, they were banning all these things because they couldn't make a profit on these people, like on these people who were in this field. So I just wanted to say, like, the struggle is so real to like bring it back to the community, because again, a lot of us have just been so conditioned to just kind of take what we have with this medical field, right? And so it's coming back and understanding, like, we weren't even doing that before. We were actually doing real holistic work for our people. So.
Thank you. I think it's important for us to know that they don't want to make holistic modalities what we would call research. They don't want to put any research into it. They're defunding a lot of things that were done not only in the South, but also in Africa, that they came with herbalists, which they call botanists, which they're now also taken out of schools as well. People don't understand that nature's aspirin, white willow bark, literally was made, which is a bark, they got aspirin from that, which is one of the most used drugs in the world. Hydrochloroquine, which is from what we call the Queen's medicine, they called it. It's from a bark in Peru that they took and they now use for Ebola. They were using it for COVID. This is known stuff. You can always go research these things. So I implore people to not only take the information that was given, but research it, because they try to make sure that it is not legitimate. Because if it's not legitimate, then, or it's not research, then it's not scientifically proven. Even though we've been doing, modern medicine is only about 200 years old, right? In actuality, I mean, since the 1800s, the invention of doctors, right? And so research a lot of things that these women and ladies are saying, just to make sure that you are solidified in your decision when you do choose holistic modality as your way of treatment. But I want you to talk about it. You guys already talked about it a little bit, but why is this important for our community specifically, right? why are these modalities important and why should we be seeking them? And we're seeking them like crazy right now. You see sound healing. We used to have Calvin Young come here, but sound healing is now used in cancer treatment centers in America. They're using sound therapy to shrink tumors. But we've been doing this for centuries. But kind of just talk about why it's important for us to kind of get back to those holistic modalities.
I kind of want to be super quick. It's what works for us. It's what works for our bodies, really. And if you really kind of go in your head and be like, what do I need right now? And kind of stop everything else that's going on in the world and kind of, get that intuition back. They will say, go back to what your ancestors did, or you'll be like, I'm looking at D right now, but so I'm giving this example. If I have a cold or a cough or something, why am I going and chopping up ginger and putting it in water and boiling it, and it works every time? And that's what D does. Like, cause I'll stop by and he's got a pot and I already know what it's about, and that works for him. And it's super simple. It's not going to the store, let me get some Tylenol or Robitussin or NyQuil or whatever else is out there, but that works. Justin, every time he has a toothache or something, he's boiling onions and garlic and clove and whatever else and making his conjunction, but it works. His toothache is gone. So it's just like, what do I know? Or, okay, I'm not feeling well. Let me see. Sometimes your body already wants something. Like I wasn't feeling too great last week, and my body was like, I want some soup. And I know that I have nettle in the back, and I can use that as a broth and then add my whatever greens and things like that to the soup. So it's just like really listening to your body. Your body knows.
We need healing.
Yes.
We need ancestral healing. We need present healing. We deal with so many different ailments. Like we are the top in certain things like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, like the list goes on, right? And we have the traumas just within our families or in our community. And then we have the traumas of Black lives dying every single day, right? There's we deal with so much trauma, discrimination, racism on a regular basis. And we still walk through this world with our heads up high and we got to keep going. We got to keep moving. But the healing work still needs to be done. And we need it. I'm not saying nobody else needs it. We need it. We need it heavy. And whatever we can do to get that healing, we should do it. I heard an elder say to me, whatever you do in your life affects the next 7 generations. Just think about that, right? And so when I think about that, I'm like, I don't want the next generation to have to deal with some of the stuff that I had to deal with. I can't even fathom. I have nieces and nephews, and I don't even want them to deal with some of the things I had to deal with. And so trying to live my life where I'm showing them how to heal can help them heal, can help the next generation heal. But the only way it's going to start is if I can be that example, if I can be that role model, because we need it. We need it. I think about how my mother has suffered through so much trauma, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, great aunts or whatever, and never had therapy. Never got therapy. And how much they struggled in life for not having someone to talk to. Yeah, you can talk to your peers, but it's a very different thing when you talk to somebody who's outside of the box a little bit. They can help you move a little bit better, right? I thank God my mother put me in therapy. My mom never went to therapy, but she put me in therapy. And I thank God for that. I don't know what made her decide, but she did. But I'm just saying, in general, we just suffer a lot on a daily basis, and we need healing. And I'll tell you right now, the medical industry does not care about us. It does not. No matter, and that's my opinion. You can just, feel how you want to feel, but I don't think the medical industry cares about us. That's why doulas are a big thing right now in a Black community, because Black women are dying, giving birth in hospitals, right? We need healing. Our children need healing. Our ancestors need healing.
I will just say that because we are worthy and we are deserving
Yes.
of all the good things that are available to us. Doesn't have to be anything extreme. Garlic and water, some ginger and water. Just noticing your breath, just taking time to rest. Maybe some affirmations. You can maybe set your phone to have an affirmation come up every morning. I am worthy and I'm deserving. I can heal.
Go ahead.
Okay. What they're saying is get back into your body. That's your body. Own your body. And make those right choices for your body, for your healing. And it's as simple as if it's making tea or ginger tea or if you really need to reach out to somebody else out of your circle, reach out. It's available. We're available. There's a couple of other places. There's people in the community that are out here to help us in many different ways. And whether it's food that you're dealing with, whether it's working out and things like that, like there's just so many yoga. There's so much. There's Reiki. I do womb yoga now, which is all about women really healing the trauma within your womb, because you carry that. And it also helps healing your mother's trauma or healing the attachment that you have with your mother, whether it was bad or if it was bad or anything like that, healing that so that it's not transferred to your kids. Really, it's so important. And this womb healing that I do was taught by Queen Afua, who teaches it, and it's all based in Comedic yoga, which is ancient Egypt, ancient African history. And the poses that written in the pyramid, those are the exact poses. And the breathing that we do is the breathing that they did to help release that trauma that's stuck so far in us that we're not able to feel, we're not able to have, we're not birthing right, we're having problems birthing, or we're just having problems in our life in general because your womb affects everything. So it's really just reaching out, and these things aren't thousands of dollars. You know, when you go to the hospital, you have a bill for, I don't know, what's the bills? It's super expensive.
Ambulance is about $1,000 to, yeah, I have $1,000 bill. I'm not paying them because
Yeah.
I'm not paying them.
But these things are affordable, is what I'm trying to say. It's nothing that's like crazy numbers like that. It's affordable and it's in our community. We don't have to go outside of our community. That's the reason why we've done this, is so that we don't have to go all the way to Northampton or to Ware or wherever else. It's right here in our community, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes the most away.
I know I'm supposed to ask a question, but I just want to add this connection, right? Your doctor does not have a connection to you, right? There is nothing that bonds you two together. There's no experiences that he may have, especially a white doctor does not have that same experience of knowing that when my grandma right now in Grenada had a stroke, my uncle is a doctor. He told her to take bush tea when she had a minor stroke. You understand? So they have a connection. So he knew that what his mother taught him, because my grandma taught him about bush tea, and he used it for her when she had a minor stroke. There's no connection. And so that's why you have to seek out these modalities, because there's no connection between you and the doctor. So his care for you is going to be dismal. And also he just doesn't understand your life, your history, your DNA, your ancestors. And he doesn't understand who you are as a person right now as well. And you guys talked about it. These traditions have to remain traditions, right? Our kids need to know about this, right? Sage does yoga. Like if she's not shy, she does literally will do womb yoga. You understand? And you have to give these traditions to your children. And I want you guys just to kind of dwell on that a little bit. I don't know if there's access for teens and young adults. Say again.
If there's anybody in the audience, if you have questions, this
Yeah.
isn't a private conversation.
Right.
So if you have questions or just something you want to contribute to the conversation, feel free to do so. So I'm sorry, Justin.
No, please do share it. Please share as much as you want and ask questions, because it's going to help with clarity. So we're opening it up for questions or comments.
Sam has one.
And so I went to the doctors and everything. So they told my family that I wouldn't walk again, I wouldn't talk right, and everything. And then next thing I know, they had a $400,000 bill, you know. And then I went home, my neighbor, he said, "Come here. I want you to come to my house." So what he did is he gave me some herbs, a lot of herbs that he took, and I heard you talk about acupuncture. He did acupuncture on me, and I asked he to go there every day. But once again, he didn't charge me a thing, and I think that his healing, helped me and saved my life. Where the medical people would charge me $400,000, and this guy just did it for free, and what he did natural things to me. So I just wanted to share that with everybody.
There is an herb for every ailment. I'll tell you that right now. There is an herb for everything you're going through.
And the only way they get medications is through herbs, guys. You're sitting on nature. That chair is made from something that comes from nature. I just want you, there is a basis to all that. But I want to put somebody on the spot. She's in the back, right there. She's from Tanzania. Yes, you, Diana. All right. All right. She's from Tanzania, right? And I know that you've experienced kind of both, you know what I mean, traditional health and modern healing. And if you have anything to add to that, that would be great.
What I could share is that what I just had today is very true because our tradition has been there for ages than modern traditions or modern practice. And it's so true that I will talk as an African because I'm from South Africa and Tanzania and East Africa. That's what we really use first. We're talking about ginger, about the brother here using ginger every time he has a cold or what. It's true, we don't run to the doctors or the clinics or where. First of all, they are far away from, they're unaffordable. So what we really grow up from birth or whatever in the household, whatever happening, we just see grandmothers and moms and aunties and uncles just giving whatever we have in the house. Black peppers, gingers, they boil gingers and honey for cold, for remedies, for different things. I'm just used to that. Every morning I get up, I boil ginger and honey. I don't just grab tea. Bush tea is from my country, yes. We grew up from trees like a lemon tree. We have lemon trees and we just can grab lemon tea and bush tea in the backyard. And that's what we drink every day. We don't get to the doctors until, it's funny because I work with refugees in the United States and when I see them now coming to America to the pharmaceuticals here and the system in America is so different. I've been here for a while and I see people who are refugees who come to this country from Africa. And that now they are used to such traditional medicine, but coming to the United States, they're thinking all that. They're throwing away their tradition. And this is what I talk about at my work right now. When I see them coming to the doctors or they have diagnosis of this and this, I'm like, what are you using in Africa? You're coming running around with a baby who's going to have an antibiotic, which you can start at home. From your own kitchen. You came with this. This is the knowledge you came with from Africa. You are now modern medicine. And sometimes I'm in between because I work with the doctors and specialists, and now I work with them as what I know from what I know and what I see in modern medication is kind of crazy. So it is true that we need to go back as what we come from or what is being practiced, what we're taught, or what traditionally we know. Because now when we weigh facts, pharmaceuticals wants money. And we were doing these things without money. I mean, we just do it. And we don't, the brother just said he got billed without being charged. But you're gonna get a bill for $4,000 for what? But now we get brainwashed too. we really get brainwashed, and this is the world we're living in. We don't look at well, I would say, I'm sorry, white people are filling up their pockets.
Yeah.
And we are poor, and the little money we have, we run to them. We pay them. We doctors. We could be our own doctors, heal ourselves, our body heals ourselves. Sometimes I forget, I do it. I'm like, I took Tylenol, and I know that I don't need the Tylenol.
Right.
And I still do it.
Yep.
But because it's the norm and it's the world I'm living in, until I think of it, I said, you know what, this pain can go. I can do it, I can stretch, I can lay down, I can do yoga, I can do something else. But I first of all, I was like, oh, I need ibuprofen. It costs me money.
Yeah.
So that's all I can share.
So I have a question. So me being someone who's gotten into like the vegan lifestyle and learning about herbs and things like that. One thing that I will say is that like I was always in a position where like as a young adult who felt like she knew a lot, it was hard to connect with older people. But what I've learned being on the other side of that, kind of getting broken into like this is important. How do you guys feel? Well, what do you guys think is the best way for people to get back into like trusting the knowledge of like their elders and not necessarily like separating the traumas that elders have from the knowledge that they have? Because I think that like from my perspective before actually being able to like be surrounded by people who had the best intentions forming in mind, I feel like a lot of times I wouldn't be able to see where an elder was coming from because I could just see like the negative side of their life. And so I'm just wondering, I think it's very beneficial for that connection to be made again. But I would just like to know like what approaches you guys have to actually bring in the younger generation to get back to living up to older people enough to the point where they can trust their knowledge of them.
That's a good one. That's a really, really good one.
This is personal. So I feel like as you get older, you learn that older people are just people who are living life. So like you learn to differentiate their trauma from their wisdom. And you grow to love the parts that you love, and you learn how to do away with the things that are not good for you. And it's a process. But you have to trust yourself, and that can take a lot of time. So like, don't be like, because I was a kid, every kid, you know that you are young when you think you know it all. It's not until you gain experience and knowledge and let life beat the shit out of you that you be like, oh, the more I think I know, the less I know. And then, yeah, that's the wisdom. So give it time. And I feel like, because I talked for a little bit, students learn to appreciate me after they graduated, and I did middle school. So it's like after they graduated, someone had babies and they would hit me in my inbox, Miss Herman said this to me. And I was like, oh, like you listened. I didn't think I was getting through to you at all. And it would take years. And I just appreciate that. So like, don't feel like it needs to be forced. It's something that comes naturally.
I think you said it well. I would add like, once you heal yourself, you're able to see things more clearer. You have clarity and you can deal with people like that, and you can still take what they have to offer and leave that other stuff that you don't want. But it takes some healing, it takes some time, it takes growth for sure. It's almost trial and error at some points. Yeah.
The other piece is, I think, in our community, or in America, we have this tendency to compartmentalize, and we kind of separate the young people from the old, men from the women. I think the biggest piece, and it really falls on the older folks, to get ourselves out of that box, because we have to see ourselves as family. When you see youth over here and old people over there, you're not really seeing family. So when we talk about going back to, just for medicinal or healing purposes, I think she just said it. It's all about that goal. You have to look back to move forward. And we have to reconnect to the earth. We're talking about, different ways of healing. We're talking about breathing. We're talking about inhaling air and actually learn how to properly breathe. Living in this country, we don't breathe right. We breathe out and not up. That's one thing. The other piece is, we look at things that we walk by. You ever see the old Italians on the side of the road, they're picking stuff up, like they're like plucking stuff off the ground? Those are herbs that they're picking up and things that they actually use. We have become so disconnected from the earth that we ended up disconnecting from our families as well. So when you say, why is it so hard? There's a huge disconnect, and it's a spiritual disconnect. When the culture isn't sound and not in place, it impacts who we are spiritually in our connection to the earth and everything else around it. I'll be quiet.
Sorry. But we also have to always keep in mind that when we came over here on slave ships, that was their purpose. So we're not just fighting the regular battle. Like, there were actually things that were like put in place for us to never actually connect. Because if we connect, we're actually so powerful. Our family units, we have everything that we need. Like within our unit. But if we stay disconnected, then like we are gonna go to the doctors for their healing properties. We are gonna listen to their advice before we move to our own. We're gonna forever look outward instead of inward.
Unless we trust our gut.
Yeah.
Who said it up there? Somebody said, I think you said it. Sometimes I feel like I need some ginger. I'm making my ginger and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna add some fruit for some additional vitamins. So there's things, the same way you cook and you trust your instinct. So when you talk about, you're right, that disconnect doesn't have to be there. But there's times when we hear, nah, don't do that, don't listen to that. And we do it anyways. I think we have to get back to trusting ourselves.
And for the people that don't and want to still, I try to make the connection to the people that want data and want to mix data with traditional health. I try to give that balance because the gut instinct is now being researched. It's called the gut-brain connection. What does that have to do with? What is that? Probiotics. Probiotics are what? Dirt. Long story short, very long story short. The only way you connect to your gut is when you are actually where you're from. Like if you go back to where you're from, that's when you get true connection. That's why you see people when they're sick, they go back to where they're from and they get better because there's a gut-brain connection. The actual gut microbiome, all those bacteria in your gut, they come from where you're from. And so that's why you have connection to the food. You're able to eat food differently. That's why you shouldn't be going to giving you diet plans and nutrition plans. They have no clue about anything that you eat. They don't understand anything about Africa. They do. They just don't give you the information. Let me not say that. Let me preface that. So that gut-brain connection, that instinct that you're looking for, right, is actually embedded into you. You have to trust it. And if you need information, a lot of people are like information-based. Where's the research? Where's the research? Guess what? They did it. Gut-brain connection. Trust your instincts because each one of these people have trust their instincts. I had pre-diabetes, eczema, a whole bunch of stuff, man, that I dealt with. I'm still not gonna pay the bill because they didn't do nothing for me. No, it's over. I had asthma. When I mean chronic asthma, I couldn't walk from here to there without breathing hard, right? And I went to the doctors 4 times, nothing happened. I went vegan, not saying vegan is the only way to go. I went vegan. In a month, asthma gone, eczema gone, pre-diabetes. I fainted countless amount of time because of hypoglycemia. Now people don't know that. Inflammation of the knee, everything you could think of, I had. And I had muscles and stuff, and I worked out, but I was still sick as a dog. I had to say, you know what, enough was enough. And you hear people say that, and I had to be like, you know what? My hood cousin, the boy, you got that guy in the hood that still, he's like that hotep, but he went vegan. Right, he was vegan. He was out here, and he was doing a lot of stuff, but he went vegan. Right, he was in the hood, but he went vegan, and he was like, "Bro, you always talk because he's always high." He's like, "Yo, bro, yo, I'm about to make it a smoothie real quick, to stop eating this, man." And he gave me a smoothie. I felt amazing. After that, it took me like 2 years. I'm a person that likes research, so I studied real hard, and then I just went vegan, did a fruit fast, changed everything. But it went to trusting, first of all, the hood kid that ain't got no degree, they ain't got nothing, but he took the information from, because we're both from Barbados, my cousin's from Barbados, that we learned from Barbados, okay, stop eating this, start eating the fruits and veggies that come from where you're from. And I took that advice. I seldom will go to see a doctor. Okay, seldom. I don't have a primary care, right? Because they don't care. But you have to trust your gut. Okay. I know. Sorry, you got a question in the back. I know.
Mine wasn't a question, it was just a comment on that, like the disconnect, I think, is just the imagery. Like, I think that we just don't get to see, or we haven't been seeing a lot of people who take holistic seriously, or like you said, like, our family don't go to the doctor, so like, it's just like those type of connections, to see somebody eating plant-based, talking about doula, talking about yoga, being in front of a panel of the Black people and calling us family, like all these examples is just, I think that's how we kind of close the gap on with the younger generation. My kids eat plant-based by default because they see me. Now they probably will eat whatever they eat when they run across it, but they're having oatmeal, they're having rice and beans, they drink smoothies. This is both of them under 10. Even my oldest eats like that when he feels like it. So it's just like the example is like coming from us, even though we might have the trauma that came before us and they can't connect whatever it is that we lost, but I'm outside the other day, it's hot, I'm grounding, like, oh shoot, like you just gotta kind of be the example that you want to show. So I think that's how we can kind of connect and get back to you.
I just wanted to add, first of all, Justin, I don't want to have to testify against you, so stop telling us what you ain't gonna pay. And also, sometimes, just because age does not bring wisdom, I can learn from a young person as well as an older person. So I think that's important. Everybody, you can learn something from anybody. You can learn how not to be, so take the good and the bad and take it from there. And I also think it's important if we learn how to grow our foods. I got all these seeds and stuff. I haven't started yet, but I'm hoping to get started. But even if you take a kid to a farm and show them, I was amazed to see stuff growing on the ground, like, oh, that's where that comes from. So then you get connected on seeing where stuff grows, or how stuff grows, how things grow on the ground, how things grow on the vine. It's amazing, and it piques your curiosity. So even if you get a little seed and put it in the windowsill somewhere and watch it grow, it doesn't have to be a vegetable. You can do a flower, do a plant or something, but just getting connected with the earth, I think it's a way. But we can learn from each other. You can learn how you want to be and how you not want to be. So you get this, what they say, take the meat and leave the bone. But if you don't eat meat, then take whatever. Leave the stem. Eat the vegetable and leave the stem.
Yeah, take the kale, leave the stem.
I also want to add that, I think we need to, in order to get community, we have to change the way our culture is. I'm Haitian, so our grandmas live in the house with us. You know what I mean? That's just how it is. And so for me, elders, they were always around me, right? Because that was part of my culture. That was part of what my family did. So if we want to start having more connections with elders or even young folks or whatever, we got to start building that culture around community and support of all ages, because there is a separate, we are separate. And even younger students are really, really separate from the older folks, and they can learn so much. But it has to be a cultural shift. And it all starts with our own families so that it can start breaking out into the community. That's one. And then the second thing was about the gut and the dirt. Stick your feet in the dirt. It doesn't matter if you go to your home, just stick your feet in the dirt. Feel it under you. Know that one, you are here. One, that you are part of this whole universe. You have a purpose here. Whatever that purpose is, you have a purpose here. And sticking your feet in the dirt reminds you that you're here and that you're present, but that also that connection to earth, right? I think about women who wear heels all the time and how disconnected from earth they are, because they're not flat on the floor. They're so high up. I can't imagine what it takes for you to be so stable, but so not grounded at the same time, right? And so stick your feet in the dirt, stick your hands in the dirt, plant something. Watching something grow is so beautiful. And to know that you did it, it's wow, that's amazing, right? So yeah, that's basically what I wanted to say.
I'd like to add to what Kim was saying, because when we started our garden, maybe 2-3 years, is it 2 or 3 years? 2 years ago, my son, I can't get him to eat no kind of vegetables. But once we started our garden together as a family in the backyard, he was popping kale in his mouth. And to this day, he will only eat it coming out of our garden. Like if he's picking out of the garden, he's gonna try it, he's gonna eat it, he's gonna try the arugula, and we talk about what does it taste like and things like that. But just really him being connected to that and watching it grow is it made him want to eat it. And that's the only time I really can get him to eat vegetables. But for him to connect like that was just amazing to see. It was yeah. But to see him just eat that and be proud of what he did and just it was it's amazing. It's helpful. And Sage does the same thing. Sage, we all grow in the backyard and other places we grow, but just them watching it, them helping me put it in the ground, we go water it, things like that, and then we pick from it. Sage loves cherry tomatoes. She'll go out in the back and she'll just keep picking and popping in her mouth.
There was a question.
It was more of a comment, just like with everyone notes. So I think that I agree with everything you guys are saying. And I feel like I personally, well, I guess this would just be something coming out there for people if you guys have young adults or young kids, whatever the case may be. But I have like this, I guess, like appreciation for like that kind of community setting that you talked about with like grandmas in the house. It's like a personal account where I feel like I now am at the point where I'm like winter time comes around, like I'm not trying to be here. I went to Jamaica with my uncles, like his kind of like 2-year-old, 3-year-old, and like my grandmother. And I've seen so many different varieties of how like being here like shifts someone's perspective. Like my grandmother is like all about Western medicine. And like she's currently dealing with a lot of health. And when we get out there, it's like, we're all kind of like, oh, you don't remember what it's like to pick fruit off the tree? And like all this stuff for me is like, wow, like I could go in every house has a mango tree. And like, you know, like, I'm like, you can't starve out here. Like, you know, like in my head. But like seeing how long she's kind of gone through like the working process and like being like so used to like, I have to get things done. And like, I need to find quick solutions because I don't have time and all those things. Like, I feel like it's important to bring back, like kind of go back to that whole like relaxing thing and just taking people away from this space. I really don't think outside of the summertime it's really possible to get younger people and even elders to really connect when there's so many things going on. And so like I would just put it out there, like it's not really cheap to travel, and obviously with everything going on it's kind of complicated. But I would say that I think it's important because I think the only time you ever really get to connect with people, younger people, all ages, is when you just like there's no responsibilities in the mix. And then like, I have to make sure they're okay, like everyone's enjoying themselves. So I think like that's something that's more.
Well, I just want to let you know that I've had this thought. I think I said it in the sister circle one time, maybe 2 years ago. But maybe we have to connect because I was thinking of doing something like storytelling where elders in the community come together and tell a story about maybe something that happened in their life or something that, you know, they overcame or stuff like that, that helps us people. Just because I felt that kind of disconnect too. My grandparents, both sides, passed away when I was young, so I didn't grow up with grandparents. I didn't grow up with the elders. I kind of adopted Vicky's grandfather and grandmother, but I didn't grow up with my own grandparents. So I felt that little disconnect. And like you said,
Yeah,
it's good to just have that.
Yeah,
The storytelling.
around those people.
Yeah.
I learned so much. I'm like, I feel like I've gotten more open to like, okay, sometimes you just kind of like chill out and let people talk.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're just kind of that body that's just like, elders like when people are, well, I can't keep saying elders because it's not only elders. Anyone really likes when someone listens. And so I think that like being able to open that space and make it seem like this is a cool thing to do. Like, you know, like some kids don't think it's cool to sit down and hear stories, but I think I learned that because my dad would literally sit us down and talk for hours. And like you just can't help but keep some of the stories in mind. And like at first you're really mad, but by the end of it, you're like, why are you guys doing it? You know? So I think like that doesn't happen as much. And because, you know, we're households, things like that just get in the way. So yeah, I feel like it would be really cool for something like that to happen where like you guys have these kind of like yoga classes, things like that, making them like family based and just like, okay, everyone come, we're gonna have a session like outside at the park, we went to the park, you know, it's like went to the space for permanent something like, because I think that's something that doesn't happen often
summer is really the time to do it, because winter time, nobody's going outside.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
wanted to comment on what you just said. It is important to generational gap, to bridge it. I think that's what we have. And I try to do it, I used to be a social worker at People's Road. It's a predominantly black. And it was owned by Henry Twix, which is a black man who come from the South, and then came to Springfield to political, he was political, he was passed away. He was political, and he opened up the first black community housing. And then I happened to be working there, there was a school, college, and I saw disconnect of youth and elderly. So that's what we're talking about right now. It's very important that I did wrote a paper and I was trying to bridge the gap between, because for me it was foreign as a coming from where I grew up with my grandparents, no institutions, no nothing, and I come to this country, boom. Hey, the elderly are in their homes, and the youth are somewhere else, and the middle ages are somewhere. So there was a gap from the youth, from the adults, and I was like, oh, this country's crazy. So I did the paper, and when I started working at Oak Grove, and I never really just thought of it the way you're saying it. I brought the program into, how they sit by themselves and nobody goes there. It's only us office, we get there and leave. They're within the four walls and they're struggling, they have nobody. And then children from school, there's a teacher, you know what, after school, they go home. What do? Smoke, hang around, there's nobody. So I was trying to bridge that gap to bring this after-school programs into the building of seniors.
Yeah.
So that they can just sit with the seniors. I used to make like cookies with them and do teas, like Thanksgiving comes and they come to the building, do teas, and then Christmas comes, they come to do stuff with them. Just for them to be there in the afternoon and then have some programs with the elderly to exchange. They're sitting there, they're like, why you behave like this? So it was helpful. So that's what you're talking about. That's, I think, what we lack right now.
Yeah.
Because we don't have those circles. Like, I'm a grandmother of 5, and my kids are there. I make sure that they were born and raised in my house. And I try to keep up with them. They come home and I tell them, and say, you don't know what they face out there. You don't know. But I try best. But that's what we lack as a black community, to get together, put our kids together as parents, as grandparents, as aunties, as uncles. That we lack because we don't have it, and it's a society which is just built up like that. They go what? Taekwondo. Korean has it. White people has it. We don't have our own, right? So they get lost in there. So it is up to us what we need to do and what we need to continue holding our kids so that they can follow the tradition. My kids follow the tradition at home, but they get out there in the world, they get lost, and they're like, oh, forget about African things. We get outside and we look like outsiders. So they wanted to look like others. They want to fit in. So it is up to us as parents, as grandparents, as aunties and uncles, try to hold up like that panel there. It is started something else. So we need to continue and as a circle, circle of sisters, circles of aunties, circles of all of us to make our community go back. That's going to be easy for us to continue with holistic because they see us doing it, we'll be practicing it. Sometimes it's hard just to do it in your household. They go outside there, they can hold up, but they miss up with other kids. They go to other places, they get lost. So that's all what I wanted to say about the bridging the gap.
It's so weird because I feel like something as simple as Sunday dinner together.
Yeah.
Because that it creates so much meaning, right? In the family and family unit and in children. Because they kind of have an idea of what this unit is mine. But with that being lost, it's like, oh well, on Sunday I'll play football and I'll do this, and I don't know. I'm a little different too. I've been lucky.
Yep, you're good.
I've been blessed.
She came to her first training session. Your grandma came to her first session.
Yeah, when I went to training, my grandmother went with me. I just was at my grandmother's house sleeping, and my alarm went off, and I'm always moving. So when it went off, she like really took her blanket that she had on her and she put it over me. She's like, "Get some rest, baby." And I was like, "I love you, Grandma." And I went right back to sleep. When I say like, my grandmother's not my best friend, but my grandmother is my life. Like people, like relationships, I suck in them because I gotta go see my grandmother from 3 to 5 every day. And that's my thing. And I've been doing that for who knows how long. Like this is my grandmother's time. I don't care. The minute I get there, she has me doing 100 things. And then it's like, all right, I get to lay down or I get to come out with me. But it's like, I am so big into family too. Like my son, his first 5 years was spent with my grandmother. Not like she raised them, but grandma, you retired. You could go get him from daycare. You guys spend time together. Like, and I've been blessed. Like that is a blessing because people don't do that. And like, I'm always like, come on, family vacation, family together. The way I like try to pull my mom's side of the family together, I've been blessed because they actually built welcome together, and it's just been, I don't know, like an amazing experience for me.
I agree. I kind of like, our family used to be tight. We always had cookouts, family cookouts. Everything was a cookout. Even in the wintertime, there was like, my mom was cooking out on a porch or some, when family came over, but she would go out and cook and come back in. It was year round. There were holidays. Everybody was just over somebody's house cooking out. But then, once the elder passes, then it doesn't, the younger ones don't carry it on. And now it's down to like, we need to do something. Like, why haven't we done something? And we're just talking about it, and nothing happens. So, yeah, we do something. But just really that cookouts were so important because everybody there, from the grandmother down to the new babies, and they're all together talking. Sometimes at the spades table, there's the young and there's the older. There's the young and the older playing tag football because the uncle wants to show up on the nephew or something like that. Just connecting and communicating in that kind of way is super helpful and helps with just traditions and learning and healing as well. So just keeping those things alive and moving and not becoming so, what do you call it? I'm lost for words.
Compartmentalized.
Yeah, people doing their own thing and being out on their own. I'm sorry, I still got baby brain. He's only 6 months. But yes, that. And I did want to touch on, I know we're probably past the time.
Yeah, we got one more question.
Okay, one more question.
Well, it wasn't a question. I just wanted to add, like, one of the things that I see is stigmas attached to traditional healing processes and things like that. So I'm a first generation born here. My parents are from Africa. As a kid growing up, that was like the worst place you could be from. Like, oh, you're African, you live in a tree. Like, so it was automatically this negative thing associated with who I am, and trying to assimilate to, what people are doing here. And then when you see people come to America, that's the first thing they want to do is assimilate because they want to be, included. They want to fit in. So my name was like a big thing, like, what is this? It's always, even today, it's always a question, like, where are you from? It's like, just be, you know what I mean? Like, let me be myself and you be okay with that, right? So it's always a problem. And so I think when people are put in a situation like that, they're like, okay, let me, get rid of everything that makes me different so I can try to be good. Like, just our appearance makes us different, right? Yeah. So you can't get rid of that, but it's like a shame to say, yes, I treat these things this way, or I don't go to the doctor, or I don't, do certain things that you do here because you don't need to. We never had to. But then you become, you're in this convenient type of mindset, like I need to do things now, I need to rush, I need to do these things. So it's like, okay, convenience, like microwaving your food and not cooking, or like, that's like, I grew up in the microwave age. That's all, we microwave dinners, parents are working, the kids better fed, but all these different things attribute to the reason that we don't do the holistic kind of mentality and healing and things, because it's like several factors against us automatically. So we have to get rid of that stigma and say these are traditional ways for a reason because they worked. Yeah. So it's a big cult. That's how we change that culture. We shift it. It's really saying, hey, no, it's all commercialization. It's all capitalism. That's we talk about the dollar, the bottom line. That's what it is. It's like, how can we keep making money?
And if you're always sick, guess what? They keep making money.
Yeah.
If you're healed, the industry collapses, right? So that's what we have to think about. It's like, how can we show our kids, our friends, family, whatever, things like this, if we do it on a regular basis and we tell more people, we share, we keep sharing. Because a lot of times people don't know where to go to find a doula, to find somebody that does Reiki, doesn't even know what Reiki is, right? Like, I'm learning a lot as we sit here, but how do we get people to get access to this information? Is another thing. How do we get people to network and have these different type of circles you're talking about and really make it a normal conversation and not like an exception? You know,
Friend to tell a friend.
that's what you got to share it.
Right.
I think D Moss is doing. I think he has. It's so funny. Like we all have our thing, right? Lamont, food, Delia, food, and I think D is the media. One thing people don't notice is D's not doing this just like to do it. Like we have to control our media because you are told if you watch TV, and I barely watch TV. I saw so many pharmaceutical commercials and medication commercials. I was like, what? And we see black people happy, sad. I'm not a TV watcher, so I watch stuff. I be like, oh my god, and I overreact to everything. I'm like, oh, this is crazy. They try to catch you off, but it's controlling the narrative by controlling the media. And some of us have to do. We do this. This is free. It's a free game. This is a free game, and this is not something that it's not something that you can apply. These things you can apply. Like you can apply these things, or you can go hit up Tiffany or Laconia and give that information. It's very simple. If you just give the platforms that are made, Veg Fest, Garden of Eden. It's everywhere, right? It's just the importance, right? Our priorities are messed up.
I think it's not commercialized either. Like people tend to fall for what's big. So if you keep it small, it's gonna stay small. But if you really, really, really tell a friend to tell a friend and then you get them to join, then by word of mouth. But I think you could put stuff on social media, but no one responds unless it's something that they're already into. But if you actually have a friend that does it and then they tell a friend, then they'll more
I think sometimes. I think typically people don't come up because they're not invited. And when we have, little panel discussions like this, even anything that's gonna be like productive and healthy in the community, I think we have to change our marketing. We have to market. I know, but I'm just saying, it's like, no, my point is, even on social media, if you put it on social media, we've had a number of panels where like people will come out, they didn't know about it, but because somebody said, an inbox message, you really should come and check this out. Yeah. Sometimes we don't invite people. What we tend to do is we work in circles and cliques. And we only bring the people in our circles. It's different when you open it up and you extend an invitation. So I'm just piggybacking on what you said. I'm not debating with you. I think you're absolutely right. You're right.
Okay, so I just want to take this opportunity because it was a very good segue.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug, okay? So in the interest of exactly what you were just saying, like diversifying how you actually get the word out, like we've come to events like this with Daryl a lot. And honestly, like we are always walking away like, oh my gosh, like man, next time I'm bringing somebody to that. So we, a collective that we had recently started, through collab, are having a week of events at the Garden of Eden. And it's really a transitioning and like redefining what holistic health is. For us being sort of like younger, we're kind of like, I wouldn't say new to this because we've done a lot in this, but like we want to be able to make it normal, like something that people don't look and be like, you guys are vegan, And so this is kind of a way that we're trying to initiate that with a week of events. So we'll be having like a poetry night. We'll be introducing a new poet who's gonna like share some of her work and like her experiences. We're having a paint night, like a family paint night, where people can just come together, listen to music, paint our garden logo. We're having a panel discussion that Daryl will be on about doing the work for the community, and like a cookout, like things that we really have talked about here, finding ways to get people to just enjoy themselves and learn about what it is to have like that kind of holistic lifestyle. So we would encourage you all to come out to it. We did bring a little flyer.
Everybody that's here is going
to give her a round of applause. We don't want to take away from this event. It
You know, like, but I just felt like it was just being said so much that I just, I had to. So we have a little QR code. If you guys try to modify it a little bit, you guys can just go and scan it, see what it's about, be a little bit bright.
Everybody that's here will be there.
I'll start it.
I just wanted to add, I just wanted to add real quick that, I didn't grow up with my grandparents either, but if you have a grandparent or a great auntie, you have a superpower. And you could probably get information out of them that your parents couldn't get out of them. And congratulations on that. That's a great initiative to get people out of the community to support. So invite everybody, even if you don't think that they might be interested, they might know somebody that might be interested. Continue to communicate and support one another. We can reach a lot of people.
And at this time, because they locked the gates, and I don't want anybody to get locked in here with me and walking all the way around the block. We'll close up. If there's any closing comments that you guys have, let's do that now.
There's food in the back as well, even if we leave. All right, grab some food.
I don't want to cut it short. I just want to just let people know.
Grab some food, y'all. And shameless plug. Okay. Sydney and Cynthia is here. So Our Journey Wellness is launching. It's all these holistic modalities. All these young ladies are going to be a part of it. Everything they mentioned, from Reiki, yoga, mindfulness, sound healing, and nutrition is a new subset that we're doing. So shameless plug, that will be offered at Our Journey monthly. All right. So don't think about Justin training and Kumar training or somebody training, and no. Think about Our Journey Wellness now, which is another company that's doing all holistic modalities. And it's tools for you to use every single day, every single month. All right?
Thank you, guys.
And round of applause for the panelists and our moderator. Thank you very much.
Great job. Thank you.
Have some food, y'all. I know y'all hungry. And if you can eat it while you're on your diet,
Here, come on.
Yeah.
Yes,
Honestly,
I dropped
yes.
This Monday come to bed. Oh, I thought it was the last one. Honestly, this one was
I was gonna call you yesterday and remind you.
Yeah.
And
I thought we had missed it. I'm like,
I can say hello and put a name with the face.
can I call you tomorrow? Because I need to see what they are doing for his birthday or two.